What's up, creepy peeps? Please let me redo that. Please let me redo that. That was horrible. I'm so embarrassed right now. I'm so embarrassed. I'm so embarrassed. Fine.
It's the coffee. It's not even wine tonight. It's coffee.
So I've been drinking coffee, guys.
At least you didn't just say I've been drinking.
Well, that's every other podcast episode. But currently I am a little high on caffeine. So we've recorded 2 episodes in one night again. And we were both just amped for the whole thing. It's coming out next week, guys. And oh my gosh, I don't even know what to say about it other than it is, I think, our most intense episode. Like, just hold on to your pants, guys, because there's a lot that's going to be coming at you, and it is fascinating and terrifying.
You're going to get your pants scared off in this one, and then just when you're recovering, you're going to get them scared off all over again. I'm still shaking. We finished recording that a little bit ago, and I'm still very, very uncomfortable. And that's all we're going to say about it.
Oh my gosh, guys. Anyway, I have to just get my head off of that one and then focus on what's happening right now, because if I keep thinking about next week's episode, I don't think I'll be able to get through this. Okay, first of all, we want to just welcome all of our new members. Thank you so much for joining us. We are so just happy and humbled that you found us and that you decided to become a member of our little group and to listen and just to take time for us. I mean, that is just really humbling and sweet. And Kayla and I just want you to know that we really, really, really appreciate you listening.
Yeah, because when we started this, we literally were 2 girls in a basement.
Literally.
We didn't think this was going anywhere. We're just moms. We talk to toddlers all day. And so this was a way for us to just kind of get out and have a life. And it has turned into so much more than that. And love it. Love it, love it.
And a beautiful friendship.
It has been a beautiful friendship.
So before we jump into the scary, how was your week, Kayla? Cool.
Potty training is on an indefinite hold.
Not indefinite. I mean, eventually he will be potty trained.
I can only take pooping in underwear so much.
Yeah, it's a lot.
And this kid, he was on a schedule. I don't want to talk too much about poop because it's gross, but he was on a schedule every other day. You know, suddenly he's pooping 3 times a day in his underwear. And I'm like, where is this coming from? I haven't fed you anything that would make this happen. He doesn't have a virus, nothing. He's just suddenly free to poo, pee, whatever in his pants. And I'm just like, all right, pull-ups it is. So, and we are approaching the date where we will find out what we're having. Hopefully it's a baby. And so it seems like it's crawling by trying to get to that date.
It always does when you're looking forward to something.
I know. I haven't seen my child that's in my belly since 8 weeks. And so it's been painfully slow getting to the point where I can see it and see its features. And, you're always nervous that something's going to be wrong too. So me being anxious and everything doesn't help that either. So it's just going to be nice to see the baby and hear, oh, it looks good.
Yes. Yeah. So, for sure.
And then be able to finally give it a name.
Yeah. So Kayla's can I say that you're doing a gender reveal?
Yes.
Okay. Are you going to find out and then just surprise everyone else? Or are you going to find out at the reveal?
So I'm probably going to find out. Dang. My mom's not going to listen to this, so I can say this. Last time I found out, and it was 2 or 3 weeks before we could have the party.
Okay.
And people were literally trying to trip me up.
Yep.
Constantly. Mm-hmm. And it worked at one point, and they almost ruined the whole thing. And guys, if you have someone in your life that's doing a gender reveal, don't be that person, because it was so horrible. It ruined everything for me, and I almost didn't do another gender reveal.
Yeah.
But I didn't want this child to feel less important than the first, and I have a really cute theme I came up with, and I was just like, I'm gonna go for it, but I'm not gonna tell anybody except you guys, because y'all can keep a secret. So yeah, Joe and I are gonna find out that day, and then 2 days later we'll tell everybody. And we're not telling Jack because he will spill the beans. So.
Well, sure, yes. As any 3-year-old would, so.
Yeah, and I just want to say, I've had 2 dreams that it's twins. So if I wind up with 2 in there, just know I thought of it first.
Oh, that's That would be so much.
Oh my gosh. But I would love it. Like it would be really hard at first because of the sleep deprivation and stuff.
Right.
But like when they get to be the best of friends and they look the same, and it would be so cute.
Yeah.
I've always thought twins were amazing. I've been obsessed with twins for forever. So I would love twins.
My mom was a fraternal twin.
Are you serious?
Yeah. So, and apparently it skips a generation. Like, I don't know the real science behind that, but I was like, for sure, I'm going to have twins one of these times.
Yeah.
And I never did, but. Yeah.
Are you happy about that?
I just like you, I know it would be a lot, but it would
have been exciting.
Yes, with the second one, I was like, you know what, we could just get it over with, because like I really wanted 3, you know, and then I just get it done in one.
I was like, the odds are so low that I could possibly have twins, because as far as I know, it doesn't run in my family, but it didn't supposedly run in Joe's family, and then his sister had 2 sets of twins back to back.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
So, yeah. And she wasn't like on anything like any fertility drugs that could cause that. Like it was strictly weird, So I'm like, well, now you never know. And apparently like bigger women are supposed to have a higher chance of it. And I'm big,
I didn't know that.
Hi, big and fabulous. So yeah, it's a very real possibility, I think.
Interesting. So, okay.
Who knows?
Yeah, I guess so. That would be so fun.
I know. You might have to find a new co-host.
I literally was just thinking that. I'm like, that'd be so fun and lonely for me. But so fun.
I'll just bring them in and just, take care of them. So anyway, how was your week?
I have stupid orange nails. So guys, I don't get my nails done often. Okay. But it's been a really long month. Okay. And I'm not one to normally complain. I will say I usually can take things pretty well in stride, but I'm not joking when I say that like the month of June.
Oh, it's been horrible.
It's just been a whirlwind and chaotic and not good.
Has anybody else out there had a horrible June? Please comment in the group. I've had a horrible June. We'll start like down.
Yeah.
I just want to see because there's like a lot of like lunar stuff going on.
That's what I was going to say.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll let you talk about it then.
Well, I don't know much about it other than that.
It's like a full moon right now. There's like something with retrograde. I don't know the astrology stuff, but there's something going on in astrology right now. And then like something else too. I can't even remember.
The energy in the atmosphere apparently is at an all-time high. So maybe that's it. I don't know. Maybe it's just the luck. Maybe it's just...
Maybe then I will have twins because of the energy.
I don't normally get my nails done, but I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do it.
Treat yourself.
Yeah, treat yourself. And I was like, you know what? For some reason, I had it in my head that I wanted yellow nails. Like, dang it, I want yellow nails.
They sound good in theory, but then you put them on. I think it's something about our skin color, too, because we're pale.
Super pale.
We're pale.
Yeah, but honestly, though, like, I got them done, and although they were a little bit of a shock, I loved the color. But as I was getting them done, what should have been, like, a 40-minute appointment turned into a couple-hour appointment because, like, when I put my hand under, like, the little light contraption and took my hand out, the nail polish would be all wrinkly. And so she'd be like, I don't know what's going on. And so she had to keep redoing it and redoing it and redoing it. And we got to a point where she thought that it would be fine. So I left and got home that night and it just starts peeling. Like it's just peeling off.
And she texts me and she's like crying. My nails are peeling, Kayla.
It was like, I really was crying.
It was like, it's okay. It's okay. It's just paint. You can get it redone.
I know it sounds like the worst first world problem, but it was like, finally, I'm getting out of the house.
Been through hell, and you finally get one thing that somewhat redeems it, and then it's ripped away from you. I'm sure everybody can relate. They all know what you're going through.
It was my spilt milk or last straw or hair that broke the camel's back.
Yes.
It was mine of that. And so anyway, I went back the next day and she's like, okay, what color? And I was like, I don't know. And I literally had dreams the night before trying to decide the color in my dreams. Those were probably my lucid dreams, like knowing me, so boring, trying to figure out my paint color. And I woke up and I couldn't think of a color. And so I just put orange. Because in my head, orange is very much like yellow. Okay. And so I said it. And as she was painting my nails, I'm like, ew, I hate it. Ew.
And it's always, you reach that point and you're like, oh, it's too late. I can't just say, please take this off. I mean, there's some people out there who will say that, but I'm not one of those people. I'm too polite.
I am also not one of those people. And I had already spent 2 hours with her the night before. And I'm just like, look, I'm not going to make her redo it at this point. So,
but you know what? I encouraged her to embrace fall, and so did all of Facebook. And since we both hate warm weather, it works, you know?
Yeah. So anyway, I don't know what else to say about my week. It was a week, and July will be better.
Oh God, I hope so.
So, do you want to go ahead and shout out our social media handles real quick?
Okay, so real quick, you can find this on our Facebook page or our website, but we are on Facebook, The Good Luck Sleeping Podcast. On Instagram, we are Good Luck Sleeping Podcast. Our email, if you want to send us stories, pictures, evidence, anything, thoughts, it's goodlucksleepingpodcast@gmail.com. And then Twitter is GL Sleeping.
And keep sending in those. We've had a few people send in listener stories.
They're so good. You guys are getting like really poetic with this stuff, and we love it.
You guys are good writers.
Seriously.
I'm so impressed. So we loved that first episode we did, or, volume 1. Let's get more for volume 2.
And speaking of volume 2, here comes volume 2, Ghost Stories.
I don't know what
the
words.
creepy music.
Again, I embarrass myself. I don't know what's going on. It's the caffeine. I'm so sorry.
And I've noticed whenever there's like a tense moment, you automatically go.
Shoot.
I love it though.
Cool. Your turn. Have at it.
So we're going to start with one called Cyber Ghost. And these are all true as far as I know, by the way. Okay.
Yeah. When we do our Ghost Stories episodes, we strive to find true stories.
Yeah. We don't look for like the hocus pocus stuff. Though that is a great movie. In 2014, an Australian man began posting on Reddit some strange occurrences he was having concerning a dead girlfriend's Facebook account. Back in 2012, Nathan's girlfriend Emily was killed in a high-speed car wreck. On September 4th, 2013, he suddenly received a message over Facebook from Emily's account that said, "Hello." He asked who was logged into her account but received no reply. After 13 minutes, he received another hello. According to him, only he and Emily's mom had access to her account, so he immediately called her mom and asked if she had been on Emily's account, but her mother said no. The messages kept coming, and he eventually realized that they were all cobbled together from previous messages between them.
Oh.
He assumed at that point that it was maybe an ill-timed Facebook bug. Then one day, he received a notification that Emily had tagged herself in one of his photos.
So creepy.
The tags kept coming in, with Emily tagging herself in remote corners of the photographs. Eventually, Emily even started leaving messages on the photos, always with snippets of previous chats and posts from when she was alive. One day, though...
This can't be real. Oh my gosh, this is so scary.
Oh, it gets creepier.
Okay.
It gets worse. One day, though, she used her first original word when messaging him, and it was freezing.
Oh.
Split up. So it was like she was having a hard time typing it, but
Okay.
it was freezing. In a follow-up message, she used her first original sentence, "Ust let me walk," which we can assume is probably just let me walk.
Oh.
That message terrified Nathan because he explained that in the collision, the dashboard had crushed Emily, severing her in, and this is so dark, but it's important, severing her in a diagonal line from her right hip to midway down her left thigh, one of her legs even being found under the back seat.
Oh.
Shortly after this message, Emily posted a photo of Nathan taken from behind a half-closed door, showing him reclining at his computer.
Well, I hate that.
Right? Right after this, Nathan disappears from Reddit. At that point, everyone assumed the story was made up, but some invested Redditors decided to do some sleuthing. They dug into the date and the location of the crash that Nathan had provided and found an article that seemed to match the details of the crash. Oddly enough, there was no mention of an Emily listed among the victims. There was, however, a Nathan listed as deceased.
Oh, I got chills. Oh, shoot.
I looked so hard for that Reddit string. I could not find it. But is that not crazy?
That's great.
Okay.
Oh, I like that one. That's a good bedtime story for later. I'll have to remember that.
Okay, so this next one is called Lights Out. One night, I was laying down in our creepy, unfinished basement. Those basements, man, they get
Don't
you.
hang out in your creepy, unfinished basement. Find somewhere else.
Watching Halloween, which I've seen over 100 times.
Don't watch Halloween in your creepy, unfinished basement.
At night. Suddenly, I felt a chill and the lights started to flicker. After half an hour, the lights went out completely. I wasn't scared yet, but I called out asking my mom to bring me a flashlight. No one came. I looked forward, and in the TV, which, remember, was off because the power was out,
Yep, I remember
there
that.
was a white face staring at me. I kept staring at the face, thinking it was a reflection, but then I saw the eyes blink and stare right back at me. The face smiled. The face smiled, and its teeth were not human. They were sharp and long.
Oh.
He called out for his mom, bolted upstairs, and cried himself to sleep in his mom's bed.
Does it say how old he was? Because I hope he was really old.
No, but I think he was probably a teenager.
Oh.
Okay. So apparently the new thing with ghosts is to like hack phones and computers. So this one is called the cell phone. A couple of months ago, my friend's cousin, a single mother, bought a new cell phone. After a long day of work, she came home, placed her phone on the counter, and went to watch TV. Her son came to her and asked if he could play with her new phone. She told him not to call anyone or mess with text messages, and he agreed. At around 11:20, she was drowsy, so she decided to tuck her son in and go to bed. She walked to his room and saw that he wasn't there. She then ran over to her room to find him sleeping on her bed with the phone in his hand. Relieved, she picked up her phone back up from his hand to inspect it. Browsing through it, she noticed only minor changes such as a new background, banner, etc. But when she opened up her saved pictures, she saw that he had been taking some. She began deleting the pictures he had taken until only one picture remained. When she first saw it, she was in disbelief. It was her son sleeping on her bed, but the picture was taken by someone else above him, and it showed the left half of an elderly woman's face.
Ew.
Yeah, that would creep me out so bad.
Oh, I don't like that one.
So this one, I discovered a Reddit string of paranormal stories. So these are like people's real true stories, things that have happened to them that they shared. And it was like 5,000 stories deep. So lots of stuff there. I picked out the creepiest ones. This is by Ray of Sunshine.
At least she has a happy, cheerful name.
This didn't happen to me, but it happened to my dad. We used to live in a home that was part of the Underground Railroad. It had a few hidden crawl spaces, demons, around the house that was being used as storage in the present. While we lived there, my brother started sleepwalking and sleep talking. One night, while my parents were sleeping, they heard my little brother scream from my bedroom, even though he slept downstairs. My dad ran up there, but my bedroom door was closed, like something was blocking it. So he kicked the door open. But when he kicked it open, a shadow ran past him, and my room was ice cold. My brother was laying on my bed, sound asleep, pointing at the closet, the demon closet, screaming, "Get her, Daddy, get her!" My dad looked, but saw nothing in the darkness, quickly picked up my brother, who was stiff as a board, covered in sweat, and ran out. When my brother finally woke up that morning, he remembered nothing that happened. After we moved out, he stopped sleepwalking.
Obviously, because the demons were gone.
Exactly.
Wow. Well, those were a bunch of gems. Liked those. Okay. Okay. So, my first ghost story. I've done this before where I really enjoy paranormal shows. And for this particular one, the other one I found online, but for this one, I watched many episodes to find one of the scariest ones. Okay.
Okay, perfect.
So this is Paranormal Survivor season 2, episode 8. And you can find these on Netflix too. So if you want to go back and watch this afterwards, feel free. You can have a face to a name. So, okay. So this is about a man named Michael, and it starts out when Michael is a little boy. Apparently he spent a lot of time at his grandmother's house. So they were there a lot because his dad was an only child and they were very close with his parents. In 7th grade, he started experiencing the paranormal. He would hear a lot of things upstairs, like doors closing, footsteps in the hallway, the feeling of being watched, etc. Once, he even heard a super loud crash upstairs, which made Michael run out of the house. He waited outside until his grandfather came home from work, but his grandfather, I think from what I gathered, his grandfather seemed that he understood what was happening, but he brushed it off because he didn't want to scare him.
Right.
Okay. The bathroom was also very active.
Those ghosts gotta go potty.
Michael's mom, when she was getting ready or she was in there, she would hear someone banging on the door to use it, and then she would, repeatedly say, "I'm almost done. You can have it in a minute, blah, blah, blah." And when she opened the door, no one would be there. This one really creeped me out. The shower curtain would also start rustling and moving around when people would be in there, and they would always, have to look beyond the shower curtain.
Oh, isn't that the worst?
And nobody was in there when they checked. The manifestations began also, and they would appear to the entire family, even in the same moment. Okay, so it wasn't just one person seeing it and then everyone else being like, "You're crazy. There's nothing there."
These things had energy.
Yes. Oh, yeah. So the entire family would be having breakfast, or I guess this was a specific situation. The entire family was having breakfast in the kitchen, and a man walked into the house. Everybody saw him walk into the house, and he looked very distinguished. He had a mustache and, one of those old, bowler hats. He waltzed up the stairs, and I guess a few of the family members went up after him, but when they went up, nobody was there. I can't imagine everybody seeing that, though,
Seriously.
Everybody having the same experience. That's, oh my gosh, so scary.
That's so creepy.
In 2003, Michael had to move back into his grandparents' house. He's an adult at this time, and he has kids of his own, 2 twin boys, because he was going through divorce and needed a place to stay while he kind of figured things out. The activity picked right back up with him and his children. One night, a dark figure appeared in the bay window as Michael had gotten up from sleeping. I think it was he had gotten up to use the bathroom or do something. He couldn't see a face, but he saw it walk from the window into Michael's room.
No!
Followed it. Nobody was there. Michael chose not to tell his sons about the occurrences because he didn't want to scare them.
Yeah.
But one night, Michael put the boys to bed, and he even made a note and said the boys were usually very good at going to bed. There was usually no problem. And when he started to walk away, the boys immediately, both of them, started screaming, petrified screams. They kept saying, "Dad, make the man leave, make the man leave, make him leave. He's over there in the corner." And both boys were pointing to the same place. Usually this would go on to say when the father looked, nothing was there. But
no. No.
When Michael looked, there was somebody in the shadows where the boys were pointing. He was apparently kneeling down and praying. It was the same guy that the family had continuously seen in the home.
Who was he praying to? That's what I want to know.
He vanished shortly after. The twins, this is so scary. The twins also talked about seeing a creature in their room that would come out of their closet.
No.
It would crawl around on its stomach because it had no arms and legs. It absolutely terrified them. Michael finally asked for the help of some local paranormal researchers, and this particular research group took a very scientific approach to the hauntings that they investigated. They would look into the background of the home, they would use various types of equipment, and they would spend the night in the house. While they were doing so, their big investigation of the home, their meters picked up on a lot of variables that point to the paranormal. They checked and looked for any natural phenomenon that could be causing the spikes, but they couldn't figure it out. At one point, they heard a knock coming from what seemed to be inside of the walls of one of the bedrooms. Okay, they asked the entity to make the sound again. It did, and they said they knocked 2 times, and then the entity would knock 2 times. Okay, so it could mimic the amount of knocks made. They could also hear someone walking down the hallway and progressing towards them. At that point, the man investigator felt an overwhelming sense of grief. He described the feeling as the pain only a parent would feel after losing a child. Okay, so it was just immense grief. This incident spurred Michael to look into the history of the house. They pulled out the house deed to find the previous owner, a man named Obadiah Howell, and he owned the home in the 1800s. He was a judge and a very prominent member of society. They went on to find his obituary and found out that his only son, Bradford Howell, had died at an early age, and Obadiah never really recovered from that blow.
Oh, God.
Yeah. The picture of the judge, dun dun dun, was the same man that the family had been seeing. Yes.
Hey, at least it was a ghost and not a demon.
Well,
Oh no, is that the creature that's crawling on his belly?
It gets worse. Okay. So the researchers enlisted the help of a psychic to move on the judge. She felt he never really meant to scare anyone, but was just lost in holding on to the love of his child there.
Okay.
She was able to move him on, but the psychic also felt that the house was some sort of a portal to the other side. And it was very busy with various energies. So that could have been where like the creepy crawly slithery thing went, it was from, and like, not everything was from the judge. Old Obadiah. So I guess it really doesn't get too much worse because the psychic was...
Nobody wants to hear that the house is a portal.
Hey, you're a portal. The psychic was apparently able to move on the entities and close the portal.
Oh, see, happy ending.
After the cleansing, the family found peace and the family could continue living there without interruption from the other side.
Yay! So you just had to close the door.
That's all.
That's all it was.
Sorry you had to go through generations of terror. But it's all over now.
See, I think that really gives credibility to psychics because the fact that after that person came through and closed the portal, it just stopped. Like, that just, it happened. Yeah.
I mean, the world is full of energy and some people know how to manipulate that and to help people, with that. Because we are energy and that energy doesn't die, So when we move on, I feel like ghosts a lot of times are just people that are kind of stuck. So,
yeah.
And we're still energy.
I really want to learn how to take that step. I don't know if I'm capable of that. I don't know if that's something you have to be born with. Yeah. But I feel like because I'm so sensitive and I seem to have moments of ESP.
Oh my gosh, where's my cards?
No, we're not doing this again. Okay, fine. So, yeah.
Yeah. I also want to point out that it's really funny and it shows the differences in Kayla's and my personalities. Kayla always does her research and gets it all prepared on her laptop or her phone. And I'm here rustling papers around because I type it all out.
It drives me crazy when I'm editing because she'll be reading this really intense thing and then I hear... Yeah, and I'm like, dadgummit, I can't edit that out because she's talking at the same time. But then mine crashes half the time, so
sorry,
it is what it is.
Me and technology. Yeah. Well, anyway,
Rachel's only a couple years older than me, but she acts like she's grandma.
I am ancient,
including her driving skills. I have driven behind this woman.
Yeah. I mean, there's no denying that. I will own that.
But that's what I love about her.
She's like, not really, but I have to say it because I'm a friend. All right, let's hear more creepy tales, Kayla.
Okay. So I came across some stories that had connections to things we've talked about in the past. So I thought I'd bring those in. This one is terrifying because when I went through my stuff, I could have sworn I saw a scratch in the wall, and it has to do with that, and that's just so disturbing. So, this one's by Sentient Gypsy. She says, when I was a young teenager, my father and my stepmother had gotten married. This forced me and my little brother to move into her home and share the same bedroom for quite some time. 3 weeks before we moved in, my stepmother's mom had died where I slept for most of my childhood.
Cool.
Comforting. The spooky part happens one night when I got off of my computer and I was going to bed. I had laid there for maybe 10 minutes when I started hearing scratching at my closet door. I figured it was a mouse and went to sleep. How do people go to sleep during these things? I don't understand it. So I go to get dressed in the morning and I open my closet door to see very, very long scratches down the inside of the door, deep scratches. It wasn't in one area. It was wavy from the top of the door to the bottom, both hands, 10 lines. And that's the scariest thing that's ever happened.
10 lines.
10 lines. So it wasn't just 3. It's probably, I don't know, maybe.
No, all their fingers.
Yeah, all their fingers, yeah.
So tell me about the scratches on your wall.
I wasn't sure. Okay, so where I lived was my great aunt's basement, and her mother had passed away. I don't know if it was in the basement or what, but that place literally seemed like a portal, like we were talking about. And there was one night that we had a sliding pocket door on this side right next to my bed, and then an actual door that you opened across from my bed. I don't know why there was 2 doors, it just was. So we would keep the sliding one closed at night, and I was
this was with you and your roommate? Okay.
This was when we were going through all that crap.
Yeah.
And one night I could have sworn I heard something scratching on the door. And the next morning when I went out, there was like a deep gash in the door.
That wasn't there before.
We don't know because we never paid attention to it.
Okay.
And I didn't want to ask my aunt and be like, so did you like bump this with furniture or am I just going crazy? So I never really found out. But that always haunted me. I hated looking at that door because it was just like this reminder of everything I was going through.
Yeah.
So
maybe it's good you didn't actually find out.
I know. This one is called The Shadow Being.
You're the shadow person.
I know. They find me.
Yeah.
Hopefully not in real life. I woke up to a tall, dark figure that was standing a foot from my bed. Except it did have bright, human-like eyes in contrast with its dark body.
Ugh.
I don't know how long... I know. That's almost worse than the glowing one.
You know what that reminds me of?
What?
Is the picture that we were originally thinking about using for the Good Luck Sleeping?
Yes.
With the two things coming up
God,
on the
those
other
things
side.
were horrifying. I refuse to let that be the picture. Rachel was like, yes. And I'm like, no. Okay, so she says, I don't know how long it was there while I was asleep, but even though I was unconscious, I somehow became aware that I was being watched. I think we've all been through that. The feeling of being watched was very intense. So I opened my eyes, sat straight up, and stared directly at it. We stared at each other for what seemed like a long moment. I might be sounding crazy, but I felt like it wanted me to know it was there, and it was gauging my reaction towards it, which we've talked about shadow people. You know that they want to feed off your fear. So yeah, that's exactly what it was doing.
Yeah, it was waiting to get fed.
So I said girl earlier. I'm sorry. I think it was a dude. This dude did not dare blink until it dissipated away like smoke. Then when the heavy feeling of being watched finally went away, I lied back down and immediately went back to sleep.
Okay, how?
Not a scary ending, but it was a memorable moment for me. Now, this is a side note, and it had me cackling. On Reddit, people can comment on your stuff.
Yeah.
And so this guy was like, you had the balls to just stare at this thing? And he literally said, these days, I don't give a beep. 7-foot demon ghost looming over me in my sleep. Listen, I've got work at 8 a.m. tomorrow, so either do what you came to do or don't do it all. That crap aside, cut the heavy breathing. I died. So maybe next time you see a shadow person, you just need to be like, what?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. And, jeez.
Exactly.
Get on with it.
Okay, so this one was so creepy. Okay, this is called Shave and a Haircut.
Da-da.
I was running on the trails at the Nathan Hale Homestead, which is an 18th century farmhouse and property of a Revolutionary War hero in Connecticut, which is only about a 10-minute drive from my grandmother's lake house. I could not find a map of the trails anywhere online, and there didn't seem to be any signage at the place, just a bunch of random mountain bike trails in the woods. I was only going to run 4 miles, so I estimated that I would run for about 30 minutes, using my watch to keep myself on track. So I ran around the trails for a while, and nothing seemed too out of the ordinary. It was about 9 on a Monday morning, and the only sounds were the distant hums of Route 31, birds chirping, and the occasional squirrel or deer that scampered off whenever I came near. The trails seemed to wind around a lot, and if not for my better-than-average directional skills, humble brag, I could have easily gotten lost. About 20 minutes in, I saw something strange about 50 meters off, a finely polished, light-colored wooden coffin. I was a little weirded out, to say the least, and waited until I got closer for a better look. I rounded a corner where several old tree stumps blocked my view, only to find that the coffin had disappeared. Where it should have been was a clump of ferns. Odd. I turned around shortly thereafter and made my way back to the car. I was maybe half mile out when I heard a very distinctive knocking on a nearby tree to the rhythm of Shave and a Haircut. Dun, 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 dun. Except no 2 bits, which is the last dun, dun.
Yeah.
I was a little spooked, but chalked it up to be a woodpecker or something. However, not
a
30...
very, very artist. I like artistful, musically inclined woodpecker.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
However, not 30 seconds later, there it was on a completely different tree up ahead somewhere. Dun, dun, dun,
A
dun,
different tree.
I picked up the pace. The trail widened a little, and I could see way ahead the entrance to the parking lot where my car was. There it was again, on a tree seemingly right next to me. Dun, 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 dun. I truly started freaking out and started to book it back to the lot. I was nearing the opening when time seemed to slow down. All of a sudden, it felt like the temperature dropped about 20 degrees. The birds stopped singing, and my simple Timex watch started to malfunction, making all sorts of beeping noises and the numbers glitching on the screen. The beat sounded impossibly loud this time, like it was hacked into every surrounding tree with a hand axe. Da, 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 da. An overwhelming sense of dread washed over me as I anticipated hearing the 2 bits refrain, and perhaps worse. I love that he was scared of 2 more notes.
Oh, wow.
I burst into the parking lot and everything went back to normal. The temperature was back in the mid-70s. The birds were chirping away. I looked at my watch only to discover that it had gone completely blank. I stood there and stared at it until it flashed 12, Monday, 1:01, January 1st. My watch had reset itself.
Oh my God.
It had never done this before. I got into the car and started the engine. The clock on the radio display read 12. That couldn't be right. It should have been around 9:30 or 9:45 at the latest.
Oh my gosh.
I put her in reverse and backed up to where I could clearly make my way out to the main road. However,
oh no.
as I was about to throw the car into drive as it sat there, I heard a sharp rapping sound on the back window.
No.
Like someone hitting it with their knuckles.
It finally.
He finished the song. There was no one else in the parking lot when I had finished my run. No cars, no nothing. I did not dare look back, and I hightailed it back to my grandmother's house. I have no idea what could have caused this series of events, and still cannot explain it to this day.
So he lost time.
He literally lost time.
Oh my gosh.
So,
aliens just messing with us.
Right?
Do you ever worry that if you have to run for your life, things aren't going to work out well for you?
I'm too fat. There's no way I could get away.
I think about that all the time. I'm like, shoot, I think I might just be like, you know what? I'd rather not. Just go ahead.
Just take me
I
out.
don't want to run. I don't want to run anymore. It's too hard.
Okay. This one is called Shadow Man Encounter with the Lights On.
Well, that makes it even scarier.
I know. In approximately 2012, we lived in a relatively normal 2-story suburban house in a typical neighborhood. It was built in 2000, and at the time of this incident, we had been living there about 8 years. No basement, no attic, bright, clean, happy home. The first night I slept there, I faced a double French door opening to the bathroom. I got a terribly scary, unsettling feeling laying there gazing into the dark. I always wind up next to like a walk-in closet, and I don't know why that always happens to me, but I'm like, something is going to come out one day.
Yep.
I have zero idea why, but from then on, I slept with the TV on. That's your first mistake, hun. All night, every night.
You're not going to lose a dream with that.
I know. You're just going to have sleep paralysis and then you can't move. We also heard creaking noises going up and down the stairs at the landing when nobody was walking on them. It sounded exactly like when one of my kids, 12 and 16 at the time, would briskly walk up to their rooms, except nobody was there. I would also wake up between 3:22 and 3:24 almost every single night. I know the exact time because I still had my digital clock from college perched on my dresser with the larger than normal red numbers. Did you ever have one of those clocks?
But my parents still have it.
They're horrifying.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, bad choice with the clock too. My husband suggested the reason for this must be my circadian rhythm. I went with it. So on to the terror. My hubby fell asleep on
On to the terror.
My hubby fell asleep on the couch one evening watching TV with our 2 dogs snuggled up with him. The couch in the family room was part of our open floor plan. It was arranged in a way that he was facing the foyer and the front door. I forgot where this story went until now. Ooh. Okay, the family room lamps were all on and this adequately lit the foyer. To the point that if it were dark outside and we were having guests over, we would not have turned on any other lighting. He suddenly wakes up and has zero idea why. He's positioned in a way that when he opens his eyes, he's naturally looking straight at the front door. He doesn't have to move. As soon as he opens his eyes, he hears something, and this is confirmed by both dogs who sit up, ears perked, staring in the same direction, towards the door.
Dang it, when the dogs know. Animals.
I know.
Yeah.
Not sure what it is, and assuming it was an animal or something, he just lays there and listens and watches. We had a small mirror hanging to the left of the door, and there was a motion sensor light outside in the porch. Literally out of nowhere, a solid, dark torso of a man appears in the mirror. It slowly emerges out of the mirror a foot or so, pauses.
Wait.
It comes out of the freaking mirror, Rachel.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so it comes out of the mirror, pauses, then turns around and goes back into the mirror. And here's the kicker. On the other side of the wall, where the mirror is hung, is the porch. The exact time it passed into the mirror and disappeared, the motion sensor went off on the porch and the light clicked on, as if it traveled through the wall, past the light, and tripped it. He said his heart was racing. He was sick to his stomach and could not believe what he was seeing. Of course, I asked him every detail after I whopped him on the head for letting me sleep there for 2 more years, not knowing this. He didn't tell her for 2 years.
Oh, probably for her own benefit, though.
I know.
Honestly.
Now, are you ready for the worst part?
It gets worse, yeah.
This is a man who graduated from a private engineering school, has zero interest in the paranormal, and was 100% awake. He said it had what looked like a brim of a hat.
Of course.
Head tilted slightly, and it was definitely the stature of a man. No facial features. Solid ass black. Now, go ahead and Google Shadow Man if you haven't before, which we have, you all know. She did, and he literally turned white and looked like he was going to fall over. He tossed every mirror we had, and when we moved into the house we live in now, I saged the hell out of it. He's never told that story to anyone.
Oh.
And as I was like researching, somehow I came across the idea that mirrors are portals.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I want to investigate that at some point.
Like right behind you.
Shh. I was going to sleep and I noticed I have like a full-length mirror in my bedroom. I'm like, dang it.
Oh.
So
Fun fact, I own 0 full-length mirrors.
Seriously?
Not for any paranormal reason, just because I don't want to see myself in a full-size mirror.
Well, my mirror is like a skinny mirror.
Nice.
So it's nice.
I like that.
But I did realize after I read this story that, remember when I was editing the 3rd episode and I told you that I had like a feeling that something was watching me in my bedroom?
Yep.
Right by that mirror.
Oh.
So now I'm thinking I'm going to toss that sucker.
Yeah, or just turn it around. My parents growing up, they had one of those. They still have it. It's a freestanding large oval mirror, and it's on like 2 anchors on the side, and you can flip it.
My mom had one of those.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And so like every time I walked past that, I would like tilt it slightly, you know what I mean? So that I couldn't see myself or see really anything in it except for the ceiling, because it just creeped the heck out of me. But
it really does. I don't like mirrors.
No.
Other than when I'm getting ready.
Yeah.
I close the bathroom door because, every bathroom has like a wall of mirrors, you know. I can't sleep with that door open. It drives me crazy.
Mm-mm. Okay, well, what a delightful little
wrap it up for us, Rachel.
Okay, so my second and final ghost story is from the website yourghoststories.com. You can submit your own story there, and they have just like archive after archive, like of people's own personal stories. I'm not joking, this website has been around forever. This has been a many good night sleepy time story for me. Like,
okay, you haven't had that many paranormal experiences personally, right?
I haven't, no.
So that's why I think you're able to like read this and be like, oh, I can sleep now. Whereas me, I'm like, I'm never gonna sleep.
No, I just find them as delightful little stories to send me off into dreamland.
I know you're not alone in that, though. I've read a lot of people who like love reading creepy stories right before they go to bed. It calms their mind. I don't know how.
Yeah, it's a great website. So yourghoststories.com. Have at it, because you could probably spend months reading these stories without end because there's so many. Okay, so this story is called Dream Home Nightmare, and I will say that I just kind of skimmed it because I kind of wanted to be creeped out when I read it too.
Okay.
The person that wrote it is she calls herself Oracle Miche. Okay, I'm just gonna jump right in. Okay. A few years ago, my ex-husband and I moved our new little family into a cute 3-bedroom little house. It was painted blue, and therefore has since been called the Blue House. The first week there, we were in our living room watching television when a massive shadow went up the wall behind us onto the ceiling where a mist formed with it. It moved across the ceiling, down the hallway, and disappeared into the nursery.
Get away from my baby.
I know. Oh my gosh.
I knew when you said little family moved in. I'm like, dagnabbit, it's going to go after the child.
I do know this story gets super dark. I was a diehard skeptic at this time. My ex-husband asked me if I saw it. I'm ashamed to say...
So they divorced after this too.
Yes.
Of course.
I told him I had, and that it was merely someone's headlights outside. He argued that the windows were not near any road and that the mist was not explained by this theory. I shrugged it off and accepted my explanation anyway. We began having experiences hearing footsteps running down the hallway to the bathroom, banging and scratching on the walls, toys turning on and off without batteries, hearing children cry outside the nursery window, large shadow and mists movement daily.
Okay, this is a lot. Like,
oh, it's a lot more. Okay.
Oh my God. Okay.
A full body apparition of a woman, the kids complaining that they could not sleep because, quote unquote, they would not leave them alone.
Oh no.
Cold spots, lights flickering and going off, sounds of heavy furniture being moved around in the vacant bedroom, the television coming on and or going off on its own, accompanied by an odd high-pitched hum and sometimes a faint sound of music.
Like, literally, if they Googled how to know if your house is haunted and it provided a checklist, every box would be checked.
Check. I continued to find the explanations for these events and ignored what I could. As things escalated, everyone in the household experienced nightmares, and some of us began sleepwalking. I was one of them, and I had the most frequent episodes. I would wake up under the kitchen table, on the floor in odd places, and even outside. There would even be mud on my feet and other signs that I had been outside.
No, that's terrifying.
I know. Turn this. Okay. My family said I would have my eyes open, but I did not respond to them like myself, and I seemed vacant. So she would respond, she just didn't seem like herself.
Okay, that crap happened in Paranormal Activity, and she was a demon, so...
We were advised to try and get an EVP, to talk to it, to ask questions. Doing this was our undoing.
I knew it when you said that.
We caught some low-class EVPs in the question and answering stage. Nothing alarming or conclusive. Following our EVP session, when we went to bed, something growled.
No.
I was in bed, and my ex-husband was reaching up to the ceiling fan to turn off the light and leave the fan on. Something growled angrily from the foot of the bed. I thought it was our dog, but I found her at my mother's feet in the den where she had been when I left to go to bed. We searched our property outside and found nothing. Even after all of that, I was convinced some stray or even my dog growling must have been what we heard. Later that night, I woke up to something strange. My computer monitor was visible at the foot of the bed. Standing in front of the monitor was the silhouette of my shirtless ex-husband. His back was to me and he was just standing there. I called out to him, but he didn't answer or turn around. Something told me to look at his side of the bed. I did, and nothing was there. I looked back, and my husband had vanished into thin air. I realized that what I had seen couldn't have been a person. I smelled something burning, and the covers began to be pulled down off of me. I froze. The air conditioning was a window unit, and it began to beep and go off, and go from low fan to medium fan to high fan, and then back to low over and over again. In unison with each fan cycle change, the blinds were flipping open and shut, along with banging on the walls.
Get out of there.
I suddenly became a little girl. I felt like all of the air had been sucked out of my body. I could not take air to make a sound. I'm embarrassed to say that I urinated on myself. I wouldn't be embarrassed. I would have done the same thing.
I probably would have pooped.
When I could finally take in air, I gasped and began screaming for my mother like a child. I mustered the courage to finally move and reached for the doorknob next to the bed. At that moment, my husband came in and flipped the light on, and at which point all of it had stopped. He had been in the bathroom vomiting. His mysterious illness stopped right then as well. Her husband wasn't beside her. He was in the bathroom, so what she saw wasn't not him. Yeah. Oh. I looked for a new home. I was no longer the skeptic. Before moving, I found a necklace on my dresser one day. I thought it was left there as a gift, so I put it on without thinking of it. A couple of days later, I woke up to a blinding headache. My husband got up to get my migraine medicine, but fainted just outside of our bedroom. I got up and went down too. I crawled to the kids' room, and I found my son first. I got him awake enough to help him walk outside. I went back into the house for my daughter and my husband. My husband crawled out while I located our daughter. She was 3 at the time.
Well, he was useless.
Yeah, I know.
Maybe that's why he's the ex.
I found her tiny little body blue and unresponsive in her bedroom. I drug her out the front door thinking that after I called 911, I would return to the home and lay down.
Why would that be your thought process?
I believed my daughter dead and wished to follow. Oh, my thinking was very muddled. Oh my gosh. I went in and retrieved my phone, passing out twice in the process. When I returned to the front door, my daughter's eyes were open, so I laid down in the yard and called for help. When paramedics and firemen arrived, I was told we had carbon monoxide poisoning. The firemen said 30 per square feet was lethal. My home was over 500 per square feet.
Oh my gosh.
Just short of barbecuing in the living room, no explanation for those levels was found in the home. No one in my family knew where the necklace had come from. I removed it at the hospital and left it there. We moved shortly after that. The last night, everyone was at our new home while I was at the Blue House cleaning so we could collect our deposit. I was tired from the night before, and the whispers and the banging on the walls were relentless. I was in my bedroom when someone knocked on the door.
Hire a freaking cleaning crew.
I know, gosh, no. I went and looked through the peephole and saw a silhouette of a man I believed to be the neighbor across the street. I saw him lean down and look into the peephole, and then a bright light behind him appears, and he turned and walked away. I opened the doors, and no one was there. After shutting the door, I realized he had stooped down to look in the peephole at me. How is that possible, I thought. He wasn't taller than me. Anxiety hits as it hit me that the tall man could not have been my neighbor or any normal human being. My lungs seized up. I rushed to the bedroom to get my rescue inhaler out of my purse. That's the last thing I remember. The next thing I can recall, I am slamming into a wall, falling from a standing position. I am in the living room and I am freezing. I have never been so cold. I looked around and was very confused about where I was. I didn't recognize it without the furnishings. I am so cold that my jaw was chattering, and I wander briefly through the home trying to get my bearings as to where I am. I go into the bathroom, and at this point I begin to have a deja vu feeling, like I know that I know this place, but I just cannot put it together in my head. It's fuzzy and slow moving. I am desperate to get warm, and I can see in the mirror that my lips are blue. What the hell is wrong with me, I think. I begin filling the tub with hot water, and I strip quickly, climbing in. As the water fills and my body begins to warm, I see that my cell phone is on the floor next to the tub. It must have fallen out of my bra when I was undressing. I used to keep my phone in my bra along with money, etc. I pick it up and call my husband. When he answered, I started crying. I just woke up. I'm so cold. He was frantic. Where are you? Where have you been? I've been calling you for hours. You didn't come home. I looked around the bathroom, and I finally recognized him. Recognized it.
I was like, what?
I looked around the bathroom. I finally recognized it. I told him I was at the Blue House. Babe, where have you been? We last spoke over 5 hours ago. It's 3 a.m., he said. 3 a.m. I took about a half an hour to warm my body enough that I would get out of the tub. My husband came and got me. I was too confused to even figure out how to get home on my own. I cannot express how terrifying this was. It turned out that the man I thought I saw had passed away. I don't know what I was doing in that 5 hours. It's scary to be up and doing things and have no recollection of it. I don't know what happened to me that night or why. Seizure, maybe? I try not to think about it. We have continued to have issues, but very mild in comparison. We did lose one of our children to suicide about a year after moving. I can't help but wonder if somehow if it has anything to do with what attacked me. Had it attacked him after leaving the Blue House? He left no note. I am left never knowing. I have accepted that there are no answers for me. My best friend lives next door to the Blue House. She says that the new neighbors do not complain of having any issues. She had experienced something every time that she had come into the Blue House when I lived there. She has not experienced anything while on any of her visits to the new neighbors. Oh, okay, so it was just isolated to her family. I am too terrified to even pass the house. I do not visit her in her home. She comes to visit me. I am a shadow of the person I once was. The events of the Blue House severely traumatized me and my family. My son's death sent me over the edge into a full nervous breakdown, which is not as dramatic as it may sound. I simply quit functioning. I closed myself off from the world and just stopped. I couldn't remember how to do a job that I had done daily for 5 years. I had to be walked through it daily until I was terminated. I cried so much that my face was chapped all the time. And even now, 4 years later, I am still struggling to reclaim my life. I pray no one else comes into contact with whatever that thing was.
You know, I had this one little story, and I was like, I'm going to save it in case we need a pick-me-up. And we freaking need a pick-me-up now.
I was going to say, good luck sleeping.
Okay, so this is super short.
Okay.
But it made me smile.
Okay.
So let's forget everything Rachel just said.
Sorry to be the Debbie Downer, guys.
Oh my God. Okay, so this person said, my mother split and transplanted a rose bush from my grandfather's farm about 40 years ago. It took, but never bloomed. At that point, she only kept it because it grew into the fence nicely and kept us kids from climbing it. My grandfather died about 5 years after she transplanted it, and that spring, it bloomed red roses. A few years after that, my grandmother died, and the spring after it bloomed white roses.
Oh.
These are the only 2 years it has ever bloomed.
Oh, wow.
So it's
Thanks,
apparently
Kayla.
a death rose, but you know. Oh, I just had to perk that one up. I was like, I could feel myself just sinking into despair. I'm like, this poor woman.
I know. Ugh. So,
Good luck sleeping, guys.
oh, honestly, though, as scary as some of these stories were, next week is worse.
Well, because it's real.
Because it's real.
Well, I mean, these are supposedly real too.
Yes,
I don't know.
that's true. But it could have to do with you personally. And these are other people's stories, as sad and depressing as they are. But next week, our conspiracy theories could really hit home.
Well, you know what? If we all die in an apocalypse, we get to come back and haunt everybody on the other side. So there's a positive.
It's Brittany, bitch. All right. Well, thanks for joining us this week. We hoped that you got a little scared today because that was honestly our goal.
I'm scared. I am so scared.
Kayla has to drive home, and I don't envy that.
Why do we always do these at dark?
I know.
We're so stupid. All right. Well, I'm going to go home and watch some Disney movies and try to sleep. So,
Hey, Kayla, good luck sleeping.
good luck sleeping.